Okay. All right.
It's 9 a.m. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Please, if you can, please join me for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Let's see, this first item on the agenda will be the approval of the regular meeting proposed agenda. Would entertain a motion at that time?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
Commissioner Phobie moves.
I'll second.
Commissioner Gray seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. None. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will be the open forum. Messel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. The purpose of the open forum section of the County Board meeting agenda is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board or is not on the County Board agenda. And I would note it is also not a public hearing. If a public hearing is called for, it'll be noticed separately and be listed as a public hearing separately from the agenda. It is requested that speakers refrain from personal attacks of any kind against other persons, commissioners, or employees. It is requested that speakers refrain from campaign-style presentations. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair, and the open forum may be continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. It is requested that all input or information be addressed to the Board of Commissioners as a whole and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information, and the county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed. And then finally, the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed.
Thank you, Mr. Messel. How many people do we have for open forum this morning?
3 individuals.
Thank you very much. Well, okay, let's go. Whoever wants to go first.
The first being Clint Peterson of Big Lake on Bars Haunted Acres.
Thank you.
So does it all work?
Yes, sir?
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I live across the street and I do not believe that this should be in a residential neighborhood. Every time the thing happens, there's 50 to 100 cars roughly come in and out, shine right down my driveway. You have all been sent videos and stuff of this. And it's just annoying, the screaming and that. He doesn't do what he was told to at the last meeting. He was told that this is your time period. And he was told he couldn't run it, operate it until after the vote today. And he does not pay any attention to that. So I don't know, I really hope that I hope I can have my October back and set in the yard Friday, Saturday night in the evening and not have to deal with this. It would be very nice to have the neighborhood back again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got any questions for me? Or?
No, sir.
Next up is Nancy Welty of Big Lake on County Road 83.
Good morning. I'm asking for an indefinite delay of the reconstruction of County Road 83 project. Last Friday, I received a call from the right-of-way agent asking if I had questions regarding the proposal to purchase the property right-of-way. I asked what the deadline was to accept the offer. I was told it was October 31st, and after that, the county would begin condemnation process and would own the property in 90 days. This deadline is not mentioned in any of the offer paperwork from the county. It is only stated that you would have a reasonable time to consider the county's offer, whatever that means. The appraisal that we received is squishy at best, not representing any defined area to be purchased, only a total square footage, money for a tree, a shrub, not defined which ones, not any specifics, not anything anyone would agree to. This is causing us to hire an outside appraiser, and more than likely will not happen before October 31st. Therefore, we're asking for the delay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Brett Collier of Big Lake on Graham's Park.
Good morning, Brett Collier, Big Lake. I spoke at Graham's Park last time I was here. Following my open forum comments, thank you, Mr. Messler, for the email that I got from you, which you forwarded me a copy of another letter from February of '24. The first thing I noticed when I looked at your email in the attachment is that it appears to be describing the purchase of two-seater outhouses. Two two-seat outhouses was not what was presented to the board in July of 2023 for $150,000 plus $150,000 ARPA funds. How did we go from 1 to 2? And then the letter states, the February 24 letter states, the original estimate project cost of $300,000 was presented at the county board and was best information available at the time, based upon discussions with known suppliers, contractors, consultants, engineers, park staff and engineering consultants determined this to be a reasonable project estimate, especially considering products and construction inflation experience over the past several years. Remember, for the other people here sitting in the room, we were going to be paying $300,000 for a $30,000 outhouse. The last statement, though, this is where I have the problem. These estimates for one, not two houses, were somehow considered reasonable by staff. How could that be? In my earlier nuclear procurement engineering, as a nuclear procurement engineer, which brought me to the Monticello plant in the early 90s, where I procured millions of dollars of equipment, if I were to propose purchasing a safety-related globe valve for $200,000 and it could have been purchased for $30,000, I would have been looking for a new job. Now, I know there are additional costs like shipping and site prep, but there's no need to get into the weeds on that. I understand that the $150,000 ARPA funds were earmarked, and so there's not cash sitting around someplace, and I'm assuming the $150,000 Sherburne County portion is not yet spent, only budgeted. What I still want to know is, has there been any disciplinary action taken, and what were they? Have there been any procedural changes made to provide better oversight so that errors like this are not repeated, and what are they? Has an independent audit investigation been conducted so that other instances of overly inflated budget items, who conducted the audit and what were their findings? And while we're at it, what was the cost of the construction of the picnic canopy and the other installations currently at the park? Also, since you are now purchasing an outhouse for the Island View Park in Clearwater, was the addition of a second outhouse presented to and approved by the Board of Commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you. And that is it? Yes, ma'am. Just making sure. All right. So the next item on the agenda will be the consent agenda. We are going to move consent agenda item number 3 to the end of the regular agenda. Other than that, I'm not aware of any changes. Is there any that I'm not aware of, or anyone want anything pulled off the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we'll label that item 5.11 then, the very last
5.11.
regular item.
Yes, sir.
So I'll make a motion to pull item 3 from the consent agenda, move it and relabel it item 5.11.
I'll second.
Yep.
So just to clarify, the motion is to approve the consent agenda with the moving of that item, correct?
I just was making the motion to move it. And
Oh, okay.
Then I thought we'd do a separate motion.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, we'll do it that way. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. And at this point, we'll entertain a motion to approve the modified consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hulse,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danlowski. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. None. Motion carries. We can move on to announcements. Mr. Messel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Just a few quick announcements. First of all, a note from our Towards Zero Death folks that October is Pedestrian Safety Month, with everybody getting in the back into the routines, especially around schools. It was highlighted with several different notifications and public notices, the importance of sharing the road and sharing the trails, especially crosswalks and where buses are active for pedestrian safety. Second, just a reminder for the board that tomorrow night is the Sherburne County Association of Township meeting for those of you who will be attending. Dinner starts usually around 6:30 and the meeting starts at 7 p.m. at the History Center. Also a note on the 17th, just a reminder for the board, those who are interested, there will be the Community Connect meeting occurring in the Big Lake at the Big Lake Middle School from 2 to 6 p.m., sponsored by the United Way. Also a note, just getting a little further along, in early November, the weeks of November 4th and then also November 11th, we'll be celebrating and commemorating veterans activities. So Operation Greenlight will be going on. Our parking lot will have green lights to commemorate those who are serving or have served. In addition, we are putting together an appreciation video. Rumor has it a commissioner or two may be involved in that, so that will be exciting. And we'll be showing that video those 2 weeks as well on Facebook, on the website, and also on our in-house televisions. Also a note, looking further down the road, we will be bringing back to the board the housing study, which has been completed. So it will go to the EDA first for review by the EDA, and then we'll be bringing it to the full board. And this has been much anticipated. On the heels of that, Dan and the Attorney's Office have been working on an ordinance to put in place the Housing Trust Fund. So some activities moving forward there, which is pretty exciting. Looking into November, just a couple of notes. Also, a National Apprentice Week is celebrated November 17th through the 23rd. We'll see if we have any direct relationship to apprenticeship programs, but if we do not, if you're aware of any in businesses or community, if you could let Dan or Brian know, we'd like to highlight those as we get further into November, probably the second week of November. And then finally, looking way off into December, we will be having the Association of Minnesota Counties annual conference. I believe Keisha's already done registration and hotel rooms, if you'd let her know your plans for that. Also, we do need to confirm our delegates. The standard voting delegates, the 8 that Sherburne County are apportioned, are the 5 commissioners, plus the engineer, the HHS director, and the administrator. For MCIT, Rayanne, you're listed as the delegate for MCIT, and I am listed as the alternate. I just want to confirm that's still okay with the board. Okay, then that will be good to go. And that's all I have for announcements, unless the board has any questions.
Thank you very much. All right. So then the first item on the regular agenda will be consider approval of proclamation designating October as Manufacturing Month.
And I think Brian will say a few words before we hear you read it, so. Do you need help grabbing it, Greg, or you got it?
I'm sorry?
You need help grabbing the proclamation, or?
No, I'm just looking to see if I have it here.
Okay, well, Brian can start and tell you a little bit about the activities, and then either you or he can read the proclamation.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. I'm Brian Fleming, Economic Development Coordinator for Sherburne County. And October, we have the proclamation here for October being Manufacturing Month, a huge driver for our economy in Minnesota and Sherburne County. And the proclamation actually has all the great facts and figures for actually how much it's improving our economy and continues to do so. So would you like me to read off the proclamation?
Mr. Chair, would you want to read it, or do you want Brian to read it?
I will read it.
Okay.
Okay. 2024 proclamation designating October 24th as Manufacturing Month. Whereas the manufacturing industry is a critically important part of Minnesota's diverse economy, and whereas manufacturing contributed $57.2 billion to Minnesota's economy in 2023, representing 12% of the state's gross domestic product, and whereas workers took home $25.7 billion in wages from Minnesota manufacturing jobs in 2023, the second largest total payroll among private sector industries, and, excuse me, whereas manufacturing in Minnesota pays an average wage of $79,000, which is 10% higher than the state's overall average private sector wage, and Whereas manufacturing provides more than 325,800 highly skilled, well-paying jobs, which significantly contribute to Minnesota's high standard of living and economic vitality. And whereas Minnesota added more than 13,000 manufacturing jobs from 2021 to 2023. And whereas Minnesota expects to see more than 93,000 job openings for manufacturing production positions alone through 2032. And whereas there are more than 8,625 manufacturing companies in Minnesota making a wide range of projects that improve life, create solutions, and bring joy here in Minnesota and around the world. Now, therefore, the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Manufacturing Month in Sherburne County.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve that proclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Danilowski.
I'll second.
Commissioner Holtz, seconds. Any further discussion?
Just a few comments. I'm sure some of you have been out to visit some of your places in your districts, but a shout out, we were at Glen Metalcraft up in Princeton. Brian was there with me touring their new facility, which is absolutely beautiful. The Phillips Distillery will be hosting people this Wednesday, so a number of tours happening up in the Zimmerman-Princeton area to celebrate and support Manufacturing Month, our business community, as well as all of our staff and workers at those places. So,
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. None. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, with the board's permission, I'm wondering if we could move up item number 4. We have some distinguished guests who just joined us that Mr. Rodell would like to introduce to you for item 4.
That would be fantastic.
All right, Dave?
Ready? All right.
You guys are looking to see who's the distinguished guest? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, no. I see that.
You're all looking around. It's like, oh.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm not going to steal the thunder here, but I would like to introduce Tanner Anderson. He's our Highway Maintenance Supervisor, who's going to talk a little bit more about this next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Thank you for having us here. Just recognizing, I guess, Isaac and Kevin, they were up at the Fall Expo, Maintenance Expo that happens every year. Truck rodeo goes on up there, so I had 6 guys that participated in that, and Kevin and Isaac placed in the top 10, so they get awarded at a banquet. They'll get jackets, and Kevin gets a plaque. Isaac's participated 4 times out of the last 5 years that he's worked at Sherburne here. Like I said, he got 10th this year. Kevin's done it 23 out of the 24 years that he's been at Sherburne. He's placed 3rd, and then back in 2019 he placed 2nd, which qualifies him for the National Rodeo, which was out in Colorado. Kind of a bittersweet story to that was that went out there with his father. Father got sick. They end up coming back, and so he never actually participated. And then 3 weeks later, his father passed away. So this year, placing 2nd, kind of like I said, bittersweet for him. He gets to go back out there and run the national rodeo, which will be in 2025, September of 2025 in Loveland, Colorado. Otherwise, yeah, just a little background on those guys.
Well, thank you very much.
And for the board information, that's rodeo, R-O-A-D-E-O, rodeo, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Big trucks.
So we're hoping the board will congratulate these two on placing so well and representing Sherburne County, and wishing Mr. Davis well in the national competition.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
excellent. I mean, it's good to know that we have highly skilled folks moving the equipment around in the county, and congratulations to you guys for placing so well. Anyone else?
Moving all that snow.
And then we do have an action item for the board when you're ready, and that's to approve the out-of-state travel.
So, no other comments? Then could I get a motion
to?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the out-of-state state travel for Kevin Davis to compete in the National Plow Driving Skills Competition.
Thank you, Commissioner Philby.
I'll second.
Mr. Danilowski seconds. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to reiterate, congratulations. Thank you so much for your skilled service to our county, and wish you loads of luck out there bringing home first place.
We'll try.
Not too much pressure, though.
Right.
Thanks for representing Sherburne so well.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Any more? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much, and have a good time out there. Okay, the next item on the agenda would be to receive an Initiative Foundation update. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Morning, Commissioners. Happy to be here this morning and have a few minutes of your time for an Initiative Foundation update. And I'm joined, happy to have Don Hickman along, a man who needs no introduction, our Vice President for Economic and Community Development. And so, as you know, Don has been a part of many great initiatives here in Sherburne County. Don's also retiring at the end of the year, so we thought it'd be great if he could come and give this update. And so with your permission, I would invite Don to give our update today. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good to see you all. Don Hickman, Vice President for Community and Economic Development. I know you're familiar with the foundation, but for our public, the foundation was created in 1986 as a response to the farm crisis. We're a regional community foundation serving 14 counties, 163 cities, and 2 sovereign tribal nations. We are a lender in our economy pillar. We are a community development financial institution receiving money from the Treasury to lend to entrepreneurs, primarily as gap lenders. We have a revolving loan pool of around $30 million, and will come in behind a bank so as to not harm local lenders, but can reduce the amount of capital available to businesses creating family-sustaining wage jobs. We support community. We administer grants. When I joined the foundation, we strive to give $1 million in grant making annually. The last few years has been much closer to 10. Part of that was the pandemic. We have an outstanding accounting department and can account for every penny and tell you where it went and why. We've administered the Promise Act, the Small Business Relief Fund for the state, Main Street Revitalization Program, and significant investment in trying to improve access to quality, affordable, economically sustainable child care, all on behalf of the Department of Employment and Economic Development. We make grants for communities or economic development administrations are working on economic development. And of course, in Sherburne County, it's hard to even mention that, not think of the pending decommissioning at the Sherburne County Coal Generation Station. Over 10 years, we've invested nearly $500,000 in feasibility studies, pilot projects, preliminary engineering, and other early stage explorations that in turn led to more than $20 million in state bonding to upgrade that industrial park. I just returned from Washington, D.C., where I was bragging about how well Sherburne County is doing and was receiving national attention as to how anyone could navigate such a significant economic dislocation and come out on the other side, will come out on the other side as well as you've done. We offer grants to nonprofits as well. We have a very significant program for nonprofits. We tend to focus on capacity building, strategic planning, board and staff development. But in the last couple of years, we've also begun to have a partnership with the Otto Bremer Trust and a couple anonymous donors where we've been able to award as much as $75,000 of unrestricted general operating support to numerous nonprofits. And finally, we support generosity of community members that want to give back to their community. The Elk River Community Foundation is our largest donor-advised fund with over $1 million in assets and can direct their gifts to local nonprofits doing work right on your main streets. We also award many nonprofit grants ourselves directly to Sherburne County nonprofits. You've got an exhaustive list of all the grants we've made in the last 3 years. I love coming to these events because it gives me a chance to see if you have any questions or if there are ideas and directions you think we should be going. I was very intrigued to hear the conversation about manufacturing, which of course is the backbone of our entire 14-county region. The other two major sectors are healthcare and construction. And in the last year, we've gotten a marvelous grant to take 18 kids at Leech Lake Tribal College, give them OSHA and electrician credentials, give them a paid internship of 160 hours. They'll be working for Habitat for Humanity and the Leech Lake Tribal Housing Authority. And at the end of that experience, they're going to graduate directly to employment. I'm now working on a similar one in the Region 5 area for surgery technicians, which is a great entry-level job for many folks interested in healthcare careers. And nothing would make me happier than to do a similar one in the manufacturing sector. So if you learn about apprenticeship programs, let's put our heads together, and we can have that ready to go for the moment the RFP comes out. I'll wrap up my comments because I'd love to hear from you. With the announcement that we've not made publicly yet, but we recently received a grant that will allow us to hire early in the coming year a full-time staff person for at least 2 years whose sole focus will be to help local units of government in the 7 W counties, Sherburne, Benton, Stearns, and Wright, to access federal funds. We'll be prepared to learn what the local priorities are, how they align with federal funding opportunities. We'll be willing to assist at any level desired in writing the applications, in coaching on administration, compliance, and closure of those grants. The goal is to make sure that we're bringing home Region 7W's share of federal funds that are out there available if one has the capacity to stand up and go for it. And we believe we will now. So very, very exciting news for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments?
No, I just want to thank you. Congratulations on your upcoming well-earned retirement. I know that you'll be missed, and cannot thank you enough for, you're always there, ready to help move a project or find some revenue to help us do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, and Don and I go way back almost 30 years. I just thank you and wish you all the best on your retirement. The first initiative we partnered with is an early childhood initiative up in the Princeton-Zimmerman area. Way back when we realized that our littles needed more support in our households, and that was really, really instrumental in helping our early childhood programs up in the area along with the schools. And then another one that I recall is our Healthy Lakes Partnership. You know, in this area, we have many impaired lakes, soil and water. We know this, our water people here at the county. So helping us understand what that means and what we need to do to support those healthy lakes. And you may have just heard we have a huge investment going into Lake Fremont with their carp situation. So I think out of those initiatives way back when, we continue to learn and grow. And the partnership that the Initiative Foundation has had with the county is just critical in what we do. Government can't do it all and shouldn't do it all. And so we partner with things like the Initiative Foundation, and you've been so strong here in Sherburne. So just want to thank you and the whole foundation for all of that support.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anyone else? I think it's all been said very well, but once again, thank you and congratulations on your retirement.
It won't be, I'll confess, it won't be a hard retirement. I'm still having too much fun. So if you have great ideas or constructive criticism, please reach out to me. But I can't wait to see who they find to fill my shoes, because I'm sure it'll be somebody with more energy and great new ideas, and good luck to you all.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, one more. A couple things that you mentioned. I was just at the Habitat breakfast last week, and actually the executive director for Central Minnesota lives right in Zimmerman. And this whole apprenticeship piece, we talked briefly about, and many of our high schools have apprenticeship programs happening. Princeton, Big Lake, Elk River, Becker, almost all of them, I believe, are trying to do much more apprenticeship programs. So we talked about a habitat similar to what you're doing up north in this area. So stay tuned.
let's speak.
It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, we were too quick to move on from our rodeo folks. I was wondering if we could get a picture with the board down here with Kevin and Isaac and Tanner and Dave real quick if, before we move on.
Yes, we should absolutely do that.
I know, I was. So you guys want to center right about here. All right. Step back a little bit. There you go. Oh, what a distinguished group here. 1, 2, 3. Did you want to get one, Jody? You want me to send it to you? You want to get one?
My phone is full.
Oh, is that, that's okay, I'll send them to you. I'll send them to you.
Okay,
all right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. Thank you. See you. Nice to see you. Kind of good at this microphone thing. We should have you do more often.
Oh, I know.
I thought I was starting to panic.
Yeah, you did well, so hey, congrats.
Hey, congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay. So now that we've caught back up, let's see where we're at. Next item on the agenda will be to receive a Family Resource Center update. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, got my posse up here, so, does this work? Yep, okay. Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate your time today. We wanted to provide you all with an update on our Family Resource Centers, or FRCs as we call them. As you might remember, St. Cloud, or Sherburne County Health and Human Services, in partnership with the community, has actively been working on FRC community assessment and development over the last 2 years. Can you hear me now? Thanks. And we have exciting new developments to share. All the credit goes to our community partners, and as you'll hear more, FRCs are led by, with, and for the community. This is not a Sherburne County organization initiative, but really this is an effort of Sherburne County. So just internally, I want to give a shout out to Nicole Ruhoff with me today, Jody Hirung, who's not here today, providing support and technical assistance to this effort. But really, like I said, all the accolades go to community partners, and 2 of them that are here today are Julie Schultz, the Executive Director of Main Street Family Services, and Commander Sire from St. Cloud Police Department. Real high-level overview. Family Resource Centers, as a reminder, are really a child welfare best practice. That's our stake in the game. It's a one-stop shop for families. They are universal access points for education, support, services, and community building. They're for families to connect with services, really providing services like parenting, education, skills, early childhood, access to economic supports, and really a natural vehicle for the community to employ these supports. Kind of some different partnerships you'll find at Family Resource Centers. And again, if you've seen one, you've seen one. They're really prescribed by what's available in the community and the community partners that come to the table. But examples are families can access in one place food shelves, WIC appointments, parenting and mental health support, cash assistance, those type of things. I wanted to just briefly update you or remind you that this initiative we've been working on for a few years now. Max, our County Social Service Administrator, started these efforts in 2021 after Scott County led the way. Sherburne has been an early adopter. As you know, we really value prevention and trying to get upstream as ahead of working on these cases when they are in their child welfare, child protection system. So in June 2021, that was the first time we came in front of this board to present on Family Resource Centers. In April 2023, we were awarded a Sauer Family Grant, $50,000 for community assessment. So again, no levy funds, but really working with community partners and stakeholders and funders to do this work. In May 2023, an advisory council of the community was established. And then we went on some visits. Who has operational family resource centers? Scott County, La Crosse, Wisconsin, St. Croix Valley. They all look different. We've been in conversations with Big Lake Schools regarding a potential school location, and that happened late 2024. And then in February 2024, Main Street Family Services, which Julie will talk a little bit about, was selected by the Advisory Council to actually be the lead agency. So again, Sherburne County is not the lead agency. We are not the fiscal host of this, but for the Elk River site, Main Street Family Services is. And then they were awarded an implementation grant. Again, Julie will talk about implementation, but I believe that will be starting next year. And then in April, we started conversations with St. Cloud regarding the 1010 building project, which Marty will be talking about. Prior to that, this is the St. Cloud location. We were working with Promise Neighborhood, and then also exploration of a tri-county FRC. So again, we've been doing a lot of work and a lot of conversations up in the St. Cloud area to establish one there. So don't want to steal anybody's thunder. Nicole's going to talk a little bit more about family resource centers, and then we're going to turn it over to our partners.
All right. So Amanda kind of stole my thunder. If you've seen one FRC, you've seen one FRC. And so this is an example of what Scott County has developed, and they have some pop-up clinics in different parts of their county, and they have different services provided. But what I think you'll see is that there's some routineness to it, so families know what to expect. And they really are designed by the community for the community, so this looks different in each of their communities. One other thing that we've been doing is just really staying in close contact with Scott County, as they have been a leader, but there are also many others who are on the same venture as us. And so really talking about what kind of things they're thinking and exploring, and where we might be able to collaborate. So we set out to find out what our communities wanted to see in a family resource center. So there were 804 surveys to the Big Lake and Elk River communities, and those top themes were identified as extracurricular activities for school-age kiddos, educational services such as tutoring and skills classes, common interest groups as the new parenting or parenting teens, and mental health services, which is not surprising. And then we also asked some questions about parenting in general, and asking folks that took the survey if they had support to reach out if they needed additional parenting support. And almost 40% said no. Good news is about 85% said they would work with the Family Resource Center and they would utilize its services. So with that information, our community advisory group will hand it off to Julie.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you, Commissioners. I appreciate that. I'm Julie Schultz. I'm with Main Street Family Services, and we were chosen to be the Family Resource Center for Elk River. We are very excited about that opportunity. I feel like that has been our heart of our organization since it was established in 2016. And so it just is a natural outflow of who we are and what we want to provide for the community. We were chosen, and then we also then applied for the Sauer Family Foundation grant, and we received over $260,000 to establish the Family Resource Center for 2 years. So it's about $130,000 for each year to get up and running for the Family Resource Center. And I have good news. On Friday, we hired the Family Resource Center coordinator position. So we're very excited. She comes to us with a passion to see prevention happen in our community. And she has lots of skills, and we're really excited to introduce her to you soon. We were also asked to consider helping establish the Family Resource Center in Big Lake. So this last summer, Jody Hirong and I went to the board, the school board, and we presented this opportunity to them, and they were very excited about us starting a Family Resource Center at Liberty Elementary School in one of their school classrooms. So they have a room designated for us, and so we're excited to also provide that service in Big Lake. We know that's a big lift, and so we are very aware. So we're staggering our openings for both sites, and we anticipate that we would be opening our site in Elk River in January. We'll have like a grand opening and a housewarming event. So we are very excited about that when we begin our services then. So that is where I'm at with my ability to tell you where we're at, but we're very excited about the next steps that will happen.
Most of the presentation today is actually a new development with the St. Cloud one, because as we've talked about family resource centers, we've always said it doesn't need to be a bricks and mortar. We're not asking for a bricks and mortar. But this is going to be a bricks and mortar. And so, Commander, if you want to.
Morning. Appreciate being here. I'm Commander Marty Sayre with the St. Cloud Police Department. On a side note, 14-year Sherburne County resident. I love River Haven, so that's where I'm from.
My district.
There you go. I'm going to talk today about our 1010 Community Outpost, and it's going to, why is a cop here talking about this stuff? Well, I'll tell you what we've done in the city, and we've done this on our south side with our, we call it the Legacy Cop House. We're building another community outpost, and it's in Sherburne County. Basically, I'm going to talk about our role, our project highlights, where we're currently at, other park improvements that are happening in Sherburne County in our city, and then the role of the Family Resource Center. This is our existing Legacy Cop House on the south side. It's a house that's located by a city park. It serves many functions. We work with a ton of organizations out of that house. One of the big things that our agency brings to it is the security in that neighborhood. That's one of the pieces that some places lack. That's what we're trying to replicate in the Sherburne County 1010 Park. Looking at our division, how it's laid out, there's 21 licensed police officers in our community engagement division. Not a typical model for most police departments. Part of that is building these 4 cop houses. One on the south side in the yellow, you'll see the one in the blue, which is the 1010 cop house, which will be next to come online. I would see the green area, that's in Benton County. That's a different model of cop house that'll be coming online. And then at North Junior High, it's a full service community school that they're partnering with our division. So we're kind of filling all sectors of the city as we move forward. What do we do there? There's a lot of things. This is just our 2024 schedule of things that we do impact primarily with youth engagement. It's a bunch of different things ranging from fishing, safe streets details, cop house, soccer camps. We do St. Cloud Youth Leadership Academies, and that's at Camp Ripley, but it's all combined in with this whole entire group. It's a group of cops that are assigned not only to this, half the time they do this, half the other time they do police work. So they get the best of both worlds, and they're great employees. This is the new design. It's not completed, but this is what the 1010 Cop House is projected to look like and finished early next year. The layout of it is there. It basically has 4 offices. We need office space, 1 larger office space, which this is really an invitation to Sherburne County to occupy that space in our plans, because it fits everything we want as an organization and as a city for what this community needs or this particular neighborhood. Just looking at the pictures of the former exterior, what it looked like, the former interior. It was an old church. It's been obviously being refurbished. Today, it's in this condition. This is projected to be done, the exterior, this fall. This is the interior today, all the office walls that are going up. There's a community room, ADA compliant bathroom that's going to be part of this. We've recently changed this based on recommendation, working with Sherburne County Human Services, to consider a medical exam room. in this location, so we're going to make that compliant and capable of being utilized as that in this facility. Besides this, there's a park referendums that was approved. There's multiple parks being affected by this. This happens to be one, so this entire park, and if you're not familiar with it, it's just north of Selke Field in our city. It's going to be one of the premier parks in the city once we're done. I'll show you a picture. It's not done, but it's well on the way. Satellite photo of it. I don't know when that picture was taken on the left, and we took a drone picture of it, what it looks like now on your right. The basketball court is done. Obviously, the building is being refurbished to meet our community outpost needs. This is a concept of a brochure. We're in the process of when we're reaching out to the community to actually get some feedback on particular things that they need out of the outpost itself. Part of this will be a survey. We can provide you and anyone in the community with any data from this survey. We haven't finalized it yet. One of the big things is we want to ensure that Sherburne County is going to be a partner with us with their human services as a family resource center at this location. Part of this is telling the community what's happening in their park, why it looks the way it does, and what to be excited about next spring when this opens. Just a few discussion items to make people aware. The city, we're currently applying for a grant for a community liaison specialist to work out of there. That's a civilian employee that works directly for the police department, that works as a liaison to entities in the community. They would work directly with the Family Resource Center coordinators. Obviously, the county Family Resource Center location and the office. We partner with the Public Safety Foundation in the city of St. Cloud. Our ultimate plan would be that they would lease this location and they would help us identify the partners that occupy it. Our future ideas for additional tenants is School District 742. If you're not aware, Talahi School is very close to this, and other community-based nonprofits. But obviously, our invitation primarily is open to Sherburne County. That's really all I have. I wonder if you have any questions on what we're trying to accomplish and anything else for us.
If I can, just real
Anyone have any comments?
I do just want to kind of to close the loop here. When we talk about Sherburne County Family Resource Center, as far as human services, it's not any additional new programming. You're all aware of our outreach efforts. You're all aware of our presence in St. Cloud. About 7% of Sherburne County is in that little sliver of St. Cloud. But depending on which program you're working with at Health and Human Services, a third to a quarter of all of our business is coming from St. Cloud. And so really this would replace a lot of the outreach efforts, but also to have a WIC clinic, to have child and teen outreach, and then also to have a satellite location up in St. Cloud, to actually have our social workers sitting in that office. So rather than wasting miles, wasting time, actually being up in St. Cloud where a majority of our clients are. So it's not anything new. It's really trying to put a footprint in some of our existing programming.
Thank you very much.
Marty, could you touch base on exactly where all the funding's coming for this facility and the park?
Sure. We have a Burn grant. It's an earmark grant that we applied for. So it's about $475,000 that we received from the federal government for this program. The city has agreed through the Parks referendum to pay an additional, I believe, $260,000. So the whole project is about a $750,000 project for the Cop House alone. The other side of the park is a referendum. I can't tell you the exact percentage. It's several million that was approved over a period of time. But that's what's going in with the splash pad, the soccer fields, the improvements to the basketball court. And it's also going to have a bathroom facility for the public there as well. So it's two split projects. It's split right down the middle. One half is this federal project that we're adding addition to from the Parks referendum. The other side is all referendum money.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, and that's all driven through the city of St. Cloud.
Correct, yes.
Any other questions?
No, it's exciting to see it all come together.
It is.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you very much.
Few comments. These came to us, as Amanda said, in 2021, looking at other counties across the state that have done them. And I'm just thrilled to see where we're at with this, that, to have the partnerships with Main Street, with Big Lake Schools, with the City of St. Cloud, and with the Cop House model coming in. I've seen that model in many other communities that works really well and gives the public a real positive connection with law enforcement, which is what we want to be about so much, and helping our littles in all of our households. So we've come a long way. I have to say a little bit about Princeton Zimmerman, because as Amanda said, we don't want these to all be bricks and mortar, that these will be mobile, and we have taken our work up to Zimmerman. We have great partnerships with the city up there, as well as the fire station. And so I hope that we, keep in mind our end of the Zimmerman-Princeton end of the county as we are talking about family resource centers.
I think that, to that point, Commissioner, I think one of the neatest things is when we came and presented to this board in 2021, I think there's a misnomer or misconception that this would be a county project, meaning county dollars. And really, every single one of these, there's been no county levy dollars expended. These are leveraging existing partnerships, leveraging existing organizations, leveraging existing initiatives. And so it's the right fit. So really, it's just about being strategic about you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. How do we all come together and serve the community to the best of our ability? So you're right, I'm excited to see when that happens in Princeton Zimmerman. It's just got to be the right opportunity and the right kind of champions, if you will.
Yeah, thanks. Mr. Chair, when Amanda's speaking to that, we were referring to it as we have a lot of great organizations that are doing a lot of great work, but they're all in different siloed areas. This is a way to bring all those silos together under one roof, where someone who has a need can access it in one place and really have those needs addressed. So thank you.
And I'll speak about St. Cloud, not Princeton and Zimmerman, but the location of this facility right next to, very close into a neighborhood by an elementary school, it's going to be a tremendous asset for the community there in St. Cloud on that side of town. For you of those that don't know the location, it's a perfect spot where it's going in. It's going to be great.
Mr. Hill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Just a note as well, this is also a good successor and maturation of the Promised Neighborhoods effort that we undertook a couple of years ago. As you know, that program has evolved, and I believe it's being incorporated, some of it at least, into the Cop House concept. So this is an area that we have been focused on, but this is a much more significant, robust, and a lot of larger partnerships going on here.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, well.
Thank you.
I saw that there was a lot of fishing, hunting, and horseback right in some of those programs. So, if you need something, let me know.
I saw Boundary Waters trip.
Yeah.
No, Commissioners, Boundary Waters.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we are on to considering the approval of preliminary plat, the preliminary and final simple plat for Buck Point TJM Properties Minnesota LLC. Good morning.
Good morning. So this was at our September Planning Commission meeting, and Planning Commission recommended approval with the 4 conditions that are listed in your packet.
Thank you very much. Entertain a motion to approve.
So
Mr.
moved.
Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Gray, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, none. Motion carries. Next item will be considering approval of conditional use permit for mini storage. Kristen Paff. I hope I didn't massacre that too bad.
I think the next one is for Richard Ockman requesting conditional use permit for a personal storage building.
I'm sorry, went by one.
Nope,
yes.
that's okay. This is in the General Rural District in the Shoreland District of Birch Lake, and it's in Big Lake Township. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 4 conditions and the findings of fact.
Okay. We'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gray,
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
second by Commissioner Danlowski. Is there any further discussion?
I just had one question, Lynn. This is going to be an accessory ahead of a primary?
Correct.
Okay, and is there, I know when I was reading through the packet, is there like some kind of a timeline on that primary?
There is
Still?
not. This conditional use permit allows for a structure to be built under certain circumstances when there's not a house on the property yet.
Okay, and then I noticed that you put in conditions, it can't have plumbing, it can't have other things, can't be used for any residence purposes or anything of that nature.
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, none, motion carries. Now we're going to do the conditional use permit for the mini storage.
So this is for KAP Real Estate Holding LLC, Kristen Ploff. It's a conditional use permit for a mini storage building. This is in Big Lake Township in the commercial district and adjacent to Beulah Pond, a natural environment lake. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 10 conditions and the findings of fact.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Danilowski motions.
I'll second that.
Mr. Gray seconds. Any further discussion?
Yes, I just want to clarify, everything was looked at with the adjoining property to make sure there was going to be no possible roadblocks for any future development as you go to the east.
We did look at that. We also spoke with the city of Big Lake. It's adjacent to a natural environment lake. There's setbacks for roads and such that need to be adhered to. The property to the east was platted by the city of Big Lake, so we did have those discussions.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, none, motion carries. Next item would be to consider approval of an interim use permit for an occasional special event, the Haunted Trail, Brent Bar.
And this is on 5.97 acres up in the general rural district. Planning Commission did recommend approval with 18 conditions and the findings of fact on this one.
And Mr. Chair, members of the commission, just a couple of notes. There were some questions that were asked in preparation for the board meeting. First of all, just a reminder to the board that the quasi-judicial role you have is to evaluate the 5 questions that were listed in the zoning code. And those are listed, you'll notice, below the conditions. And so really need to limit your conversation and your decision-making to the 5 questions that were listed there. In addition, I would note that this IUP was generated because of activities last year that were requiring special use permit, and the applicant has such applied for it. As such, just a reminder that any enforcement activities for past events is not germane and should not be considered as a basis for approval or denial. You really need to limit yourself to the 5 questions that are in front of you and then whether the conditions are sufficient. And then the last thing we would note is Lynn will lay out the options for the board, but should you get to a decision-making point today, we did receive the adequacy of code analysis that did come in after the Planning Commission met. It is a condition, so that condition has been met, but we have not fully been able to review that yet. And then in addition, staff would recommend a consideration of safety, some sort of a security or safety plan as an additional condition. That would be a staff recommendation for today. With that, Lynn will lay out kind of the 3 options you have going forward for your discussion.
So you have 3 options today. You could approve it with the conditions that were established at the Planning Commission meeting. You could modify some of those conditions if you chose to do so at today's meeting. You could table it and allow staff to add additional conditions such as added security, as Bruce mentioned, possibly hire private security on site or require that the sheriff's office somehow be involved. Provide proof that a structural engineering recommendations that were made on the building have actually been completed and that all of those have been met. We could further figure out what the additional zoning staff annual review would entail, so we could look at some of those if you chose to table it. And lastly, we could table it to allow staff to put together findings to deny based on the discussions at the county board meeting today, and bring it back to the November meeting, and we would refer to the findings and some of the policies in our comprehensive plan if we chose to deny it, and what reasons we could possibly do for that.
And for board reference, the two conditions Lynn mentioned, condition number 7 is that adequacy of the code design, the buildings, and condition 18 is the review that's listed for annual review of the IUP. And then just a final note, again, remember in your zoning, this is an allowed use under certain conditions. So the presumption is that if the conditions are met, it is a permissible activity if the conditions are met.
So I think then some discussion is in order before we decide, before we actually entertain a motion on this particular issue.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I guess I'm struggling with question 5 of the IUP, which is the nuisance issue. I'm struggling a little to understand how the Planning Commission arrived that that particular issue was met.
The Planning Commission only had 2 people that were there in opposition to the request. Notices were sent out to anyone within a quarter mile. So I think some of the discussions that were had at the Planning Commission only had 2 people in opposition, so that may have been why they had felt that way.
So from my perspective, I guess my concern is that I'm not sure that's been adequately vetted.
Janlowski?
Mr. Chair, I think we all understand that this is an event that is happening to be somewhat of a fundraiser for some nonprofits, so I understand that. But I also understand that it's a huge impact to that neighborhood. I have concerns in regards to the parking on the township road. I have concerns with, I don't know if this is quite ready for prime time yet. I've got concerns with some of the confusion of, in one area, we talk about 2 to 3 times a month. In another area, it's talking about for the 4 or so weekends in October, and different things of that nature. And I do have concerns with the ability to adequately park if we were to decide that we do not want to see it overflow onto the roads. This is an area, I went out and drove through the area. It is bordered by, it's got a road that comes off of County Road 10, and the first road goes to a dead end, and then you turn off of this road that's a short road over to the next road that will take you back to County Road 10. It's a really confined location. So I do have concerns of what it's going to do to impact the neighborhood, safety reasons, adequately oversighting, and also I viewed the Planning Commission meeting on YouTube and had concerns when there was discussion about, normally there's going to be about possibly 25 participants that are part of the scare aspect of it. Also then 10 adult volunteers. That's already 35 possible extra cars. I'm sure some people are going to come and get dropped off, but it's still extra cars that I wasn't clear on where they were supposed to be parking. So yes, I have concerns if this is ready for prime time yet.
Okay.
Lynn, did the Planning Commission go out and tour the site and go take a peek at it?
I don't know if any of the Planning Commission members individually went out and looked at it. Planning Commission as a whole does not go out and look at sites. Individual members are able to do so if they choose.
Okay. As I was reading through all of this, and it brings me back a few years when we dealt with a property in Livonia, but that property was 10 acres, so double the size of this, and had less the challenges of this and had its own parking right on site. There was no parking on the road. It was on a county road, of course, so, but Mark and I spent a lot of time on the Livonia property, trying to balance working with the neighbors. That was a big part of it. We met with many, many neighbors and had many gatherings to talk with neighbors to try to remedy and be good neighbors to each other, you know, make best support someone's property rights and what they want to do with their 10 acres, but also how do you be a good neighbor and live in community, even though on a 10-acre parcel. So, yeah, I'm struggling with this one, but also trying to limit my scope to the rules that we are confined in also in the public hearing that happened at Planning Commission.
Okay. Well, my 2 cents worth, I mean, within the rules, we're considering disruption to the neighborhood. That is what we're considering. And, you know, and as much as I'm a fan of businesses and things operating in the neighborhood, in this particular case, I mean, you know, when you look at the old adage of your right to swing your fist ends the tip of my nose, this is so intrusive on such a small piece of property. So, I mean, it's just an awful lot of stuff going on just slightly under 6 acres. On a bigger property, I could see where this would make sense, but I really struggle with having it on such a small property in a neighborhood where you don't really have the major roads going in and out to handle the traffic flow and so on and so forth.
I guess I would like to see us table this and bring it back, whether that be in a couple of weeks after we've had time to really vet some of the questions and addressing the parking and looking at possibly the no parking on the township roads. I guess I'd like to see us vet this out a little more and see if they're, you know, working together to, you know, have an event, but yet not have it. I think by the applicant's paperwork, I mean, they're talking like over the period of time, a couple thousand cars. And like I said, having toured that area, that's a big impact on that little area, community. So I'd like to see us maybe table this to, I will actually make that a form of a motion. I would move to table this for further review, get questions answered, and define it a lot better.
So we're going to table it until, say, when do we want to review it again?
Would our next
What
meeting
would your time
be
frame
enough
be for
time?
that?
We did extend the 60-day rule. We have until mid-December. Mark, do you know what the date is off the top of your head?
I think you'd have to take action in November, so with the 60-day, right, Mark?
Yeah,
I don't remember the
the
exact
date.
date.
I
I'll
sent
look
to
it
you
up
an
here.
email and-
The one thing I note is if there's a second to the table, the motion is non-debatable, non-discussable, it ends it. So
Right.
the one comment I'd make is usually it's a date and time certain, and then staff would seek direction. Are you looking for us to define a condition for approval specific to, let's say, your comment about no parking on township roads? So we need more clarity what the direction is if you're going to table it.
Well, I had heard Lynn mention that one of the conditions they haven't had time to review in regards to, was that to have an engineer check all the buildings on site to make sure that they were safe to have, you know, people going through. Is that what you're referring to, that came back, but you haven't had time to review it, really?
We received a letter from an engineer, and they went through all the issues that needed to be addressed in each one of the buildings out on site to meet code. I don't know whether or not they have addressed those issues, and we would not have our building official go out and make that determination. I think they'd have to have their structural engineer go back out and provide us with something that all those changes have been made so that we can be assured that those buildings meet code. And that has not been given to us yet.
Looking ahead at the calendar.
November 5th and November 19th.
November 5th and, I'm sorry?
And 19th are your two meetings.
Well, and Mr. Chair, recognizing that if we table this, it's done for this year, because it's my understanding this is an October event for this party.
Yep.
So I just want to
Yep.
name that.
That's where we're at. So,
Just a clarification, though, once the IUP is approved, it would be approved for future years as well, is that correct?
Correct.
So,
Unless you choose to only give it a time certain, but you could allow it as long as he owns the property, or it could be time certain. You can do it for a year and see if it takes care of some of the issues, you know, that's up to the prerogative of the board.
yeah, because I think the proposal on, before us has an annual review at this point.
The way it is currently recommended, it has that staff reviews it annually. It doesn't require a reissuance, so it is considered perpetual under the conditions that are recommended to you. It just has a staff review.
Did you say, though, that can we like put a time, like they would have to come back for another IUP for next year, and to see where these different conditions would be at, if there's been things that have been done? I mean, this is a safety factor too.
I believe it's within the board's authority to add conditions or change conditions. They would be subject to the applicant accepting them to accept the IUP. I would defer to the attorney to help us research whether or not you can put a time limit on an IUP. I'm not familiar with that.
And Lynn, were you not asking for a little more clarification on what does that mean by staff review?
Correct.
Are we expecting something?
Correct.
In a report version, or?
Have all of the conditions been 100% met?
Not that we are aware of. We don't know if all those structural changes have been made yet. I can say my recollection is years ago, there was a haunted trail in Livonia Township, and there was a lot of concern from the neighbors, and my recollection is that we put that on a time. They did it for a year or 2 years, I can't recall what it was, and then they had to come back. In that case, they were good neighbors, and it did alleviate some of those issues and concerns, so I believe once it was reapproved, it was as long as that person owned that property. That's my recollection.
Okay. So back to your motion. You want to make it more specific?
Well, let's make sure we've exhausted our comments before we choose to table, because once we table, we cannot discuss anymore. So just give it a second.
Would you withdraw your motion then, so?
I can withdraw that at the moment.
So Lynn, did I just hear you say that you don't know that all the conditions are met?
Correct. We're not sure if the buildings meet the structural requirements. We know that there were some deficiencies that a structural engineer had determined and placed in a letter that we received, I believe it was last week, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, the letter came on Monday, I think.
The letter came on Monday, so yesterday. And so,
Scroll down, we can see the full condition number.
and so we're not sure that those have been met yet.
It's
We know
condition
that they identified the
seven.
issues.
Number 7 there.
And it says prior to allowing public access.
Correct.
And then we have to have the ability to check what they've pointed out through that licensed Minnesota design professional. Correct?
I don't know that they're necessarily required to get an actual building permit from us, because a lot of these structures are very small, and if they're less than 200 square feet, they're not required to get a building permit. So normally, our building inspector would not inspect anything that's less than 200 square feet. So my recommendation would be is that they make those changes, and then their engineer that they hired goes out and verifies and provides something to us in writing that those issues have been addressed and they meet all of the codes.
And it does say here, any improvements will require building permits from the county. So if
If
they
it-
have to make any changes or improvements,
Only if the building is over 200 square feet in size under state building code.
which doesn't take much, 200 isn't very big.
So just a random question to that. So a building's under 200 square feet, they're running this event, someone gets hurt, does the county have any liability in that?
That would be a question for the county attorney. We do not inspect buildings under 200 square feet, so.
But we are allowing this.
Correct.
We're.
And that's
we
why
have a
we.
permit with an IUP. So
Correct.
we have a building under 200 square feet, not under we don't inspect.
Correct.
People get hurt. Does the county have liability in that?
Because there's not a requirement in the state building code, it would be the property owner's liability, is my opinion. Now, we could require, review of insurance, maybe have that be added as a rider, but I'm assuming that it probably is a standard rider.
I would like to add something about review of insurance, of the homeowner's insurance with an event. Yeah, I am beginning to believe this is not ready for prime time.
And also in the applicant's information, in the letter that he had put in, there's also this is an LLC as well. So it gets very convoluted, I think, in regards to, is it the Bars Trail event that's the LLC? Is the house incorporated into that?
Right.
And they're supporting nonprofits, and it's a fundraiser. So, yeah, it's.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think we have any issues with, it goes to a good cause. It's a fundraiser for, according to the applicant's information, the Minnesota Jets, the Boy Scouts, and I think a local drama club of some sort. So those are good causes.
Mr. Chair, I think what I'm struggling with is this feels very rushed. Once we issue an IUP, the IUP is issued. And, whether or not we can put some sort of temporal frame around that, is an open question. But I'm a little, I guess I'm a little concerned, one, that it's it is now the 15th of October, and this is being brought to us for an event that's going to end on the 31st of October. I'm reticent to rush something through that I don't think has necessarily been entirely vetted, and something that will last at least as long as the owner owns the property. This is how counties get themselves in trouble with, legacy building permits and those sort of things. It's unfortunate that this is happening this close to the event. This should have happened in July, frankly. Then there wouldn't have been an issue. We would have had plenty of time to vet all the issues and issue a proper IUP. I'm not comfortable with rushing this through, not having the current conditions not even being met, in order to establish something that, is going to run for the next 16 days.
And beyond.
I'm very reticent about this.
I concur with Commissioner Hulls in regards to this. This is an after-the-fact kind of permit that we're doing here. It's going to be ended here in 15 or 16 days. I think it's very difficult to, because if we pass something like this right now, this is open Friday night. I mean, and not all the conditions have been met, and you can't have them all met and paperwork, we don't know if they're all going to be met. From what Lynn said, they have not all been met.
And Mr. Chair, this was applicant-driven, right? They had the opportunity to apply for this in, like what Commissioner Hulls was referring to, July.
How this all started was a little under 2 years ago. It was after Halloween 2 years ago, we received a complaint of this operating and started enforcement. And they subsequently applied, but they didn't supply us with the additional information that we needed. We're getting towards the end of the time period in which they have to give us the information, and so we needed to move this forward to get this resolved one way or the other. But they have had an application in here for well over a year, year and a half, and we asked for additional information and we had not received it.
So here we are. So,
Just a couple points of clarification. Condition number 15 does address, or at least speaks to insurance for Commissioner Phobie. If you want to add or change that, I just want to note that it does address that. And Commissioner Halls, you mentioned just general concerns about condition number 5. Our standard conditions, which the Planning Commission usually puts on, include condition 3, 4, 8, 10, 11, 13, and 17 to address noise, light. Again, we can modify those or change those, but there is some to your concerns about the issues you mentioned under condition number 5. It is also feasible, should the board want to approve a interim use permit. Two things. Lynn's experience is that you could set a limit on the IUP, let's say 1 year or 2 years, and if the applicant accepts that as a condition, then there's probably greater propensity that it'll be enforceable. And then also the concern about condition number 7, the adequacy of code. We could, even prior to this weekend, require that the applicant provide that from the engineer to meet that condition. So again, if it's the board's desire to, let's say, approve an IUP but limit it, I think it's reasonable if the applicant's willing to accept that condition.
And in regards to the code, it still would require someone from staff to go out there and verify. And I think that's a...
No, I think condition 7 specifically says that we want a copy of the code analysis. And what Lynn is saying is we want, the code analysis we received said some of these structures were inadequate. So we would want verification that those inadequacies have been met. I think you could require us to go. I don't think that would be our normal practice. We would accept an engineer's report that says, like let's say the electrical isn't to code, that they fix it.
But back to the time crunch on that, it does say that we would have to get a copy of the analysis, and then any operations commencing, any improvements would require buildings permits from the county. So if there is a deficiency, the probability of actually having the analysis get to us and a building permit applied for, passed, and by Friday would seem kind of slim.
Again, I think if it's the board's direction that an IUP be approved, staff would make every effort between now and this weekend to see that that's done. If the applicant has not done those improvements, then it's obvious. But I'm just saying, I think with the condition the way it's written, obviously those structures under 200, we would just need an engineering analysis that the improvements have been made. If it's over 200, we would have to potentially inspect the building. But if it's the board's direction, we would make every effort to do it. It would be incumbent upon the applicant that the deficiencies have been addressed.
We're kind of back to the commentary that it's very rushed.
I'm hearing that there's more issues than just the buildings from the board.
So, if we're done with our commentary, then I guess we would entertain a motion or a change in your motion?
By means of summary, just a couple of things. The board has not addressed the staff comment about general safety and requiring safety, and that's fine, you don't have to. I would just know that. But what we tracked was concerns with meeting condition number 1, which is compatibility with the neighborhood. Condition 3, dealing with parking. I think those are the two that I noted that you're expressing concerns on, condition 1 and condition 3. And then whether or not you feel that an additional, and when I say condition, I mean question 1, question 3, the large questions. And then for specific conditions, we would need direction if you want any of the specific conditions modified, including adding a condition for security on site.
Crickets.
Huh?
Crickets.
So yeah, so I'm looking for it.
I know this doesn't
Are you gonna modify your?
pertain to this, but in the future, when the planning commission, when something comes before the commission that we know is going to affect the neighborhood in any way, I would like to propose tours.
Okay.
The planning commission, either that's part of our expectation that they get out on their own, or we take them out.
Well, I think everything affects the neighborhood. It's just to the extent which it affects the neighborhood.
Well, if it's a
Yeah, putting
pole barn,
anything,
it's
any business
different.
in your neighborhood's
Well,
gonna.
businesses, that's what I mean. Yeah, businesses. If it's a pole barn, I don't know that that affects the neighbor. But when we were dealing with the Livonia situation, I think it would have been very helpful for the planning commission to walk the property. And I think this is a case that they should have.
And you can kind of look at a plat map on this one too and realize that it's an awful lot in a small space.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, yeah, I'm just not sure if that really helps in the long run. So did you want to modify your,
And again, the notes I have say
or withdraw
the
it?
questions the board raised were regarding zoning ordinance question number 1, question number 3, and question 5. And then the conditions, unless you have specific language changes on the conditions, you can give us direction to either work on adding conditions and modifying conditions.
Okay, now you're talking about the conditions, so condition number 1, yes, we have concerns about that one.
There's too much.
And condition number,
Well, let me try it a little different. So let's go to the findings. Finding number 1 is, and again, this would be if your direction is tighten these for approval or prepare reasons for denial. What you talked about, 1 was that the interim use permit would not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of of other property in the immediate vicinity or substantially diminish or impair their values. So you had questions whether or not that was an adequate finding. Finding number 2, the board really didn't discuss in terms of orderly development. Item 3 was adequate roads was specifically discussed. That's finding number 3. Finding number 4 was off-street parking and loading. Somewhat related to that was item 3 with the roads. So you could limit that, so we should add finding 4 to maybe further talk about off-street only. And then finding number 5 was the general one about dust, noise, and things like that.
okay,
Now, if you go beyond that, let's say you were saying, okay, we want to tighten those, then we would go look at the specific conditions.
Yeah, so for example, Mr. Chair, if I may, for example, condition 13, excessive noise, glare, odors, traffic, or other nuisances may be justification for the county to revoke or modify the terms of the interim use permit. What does excessive mean? Right? Both from an enforcement standpoint as well as from the owner's standpoint, how do they know what their boundaries are, what their guide rails are? So that's not adequate to me because the owner doesn't know what they're supposed to meet, and we don't know as a county what we're supposed to enforce. So, so these conditions need to be, I mean, some of these things can, some of these things can be left as is, but condition 13 to me is entirely inadequate.
There is a decibel meter.
There is, and we used it in the Livonia situation.
In that, and it does, but there's a decibel meter in there, there's a parking thing. So some of that's addressed, but in specific, but if we're not ready to go on it, then.
right.
Yeah, so let me take a stab at a motion, okay? So I would make a motion to table this item, send it back to staff. Conditions as currently listed that require judgment need to be tightened and provide metrics such that the owner knows what the expectations are. Is that
And the
adequate?
findings. And the findings.
And the findings?
And tabled till?
Give me a date. Tabled until when? When you
You
need-
want to do November 19th, 1 month from now,
Yeah.
at
November
your board
19th.
meeting?
November 19th.
And do you want to clarify the findings 1, 3, 4, and 5?
Yes. I will take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay. Have we adequately drafted a?
Do you have the,
motion?
Well, what I hear is table and direct staff to prepare conditions for approval, addressing vagueness of the conditions to the extent that statute allows, or we can define those. So Commissioner Felber is correct. There is a decibel condition that we've used in the past. I don't know about light or noise, but we'll look into that. Or not noise, but light or dust. And then evaluate those additional conditions with the applicant as well as how they meet findings of fact 1, 3, 4, and 5. So the motion is to table with additional work on conditions for approval.
that is, yes,
Okay.
with the assumption that those conditions would meet the needs of both the neighborhood as well as the owner. So this is not just a one-sided thing. That's my point.
I don't think that addition would be enforceable. Under statute, neighborhood don't really have a direct negotiation position on conditions. So we can define the metrics.
We can define the nuisance piece, though, correct?
Well, to the extent
for
that
item
there's
5.
precedent for noise, light,
Yes,
we can define those, but
and traffic.
I don't think you can mandate a negotiation with the neighborhood.
That's not what I'm, okay.
But I think if I may, Commissioner. to
Hit
the
your
extent-
button.
Your mic on.
There you go.
Thank you. If I may, I think perhaps, Commissioner, what you're suggesting too is that there needs to be additional finding of fact or opportunity for fact development as to how it applies to some of the board's concerns on the adequacy of meeting conditions for those ultimate findings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he did add traffic concerns, along with the conditions of the structures.
Okay. So to be clear, there's not direction in that motion for no off-street or no on-street parking. That was not part of your motion.
Yes, that was.
I added traffic. I did.
Yeah.
And is it, you don't want any on-street parking or just clarify the condition?
Clarify the condition.
Okay. And then, again, just for clarification on the motion, staff had recommended looking at a safety plan. That was not part of your motion, to add a condition on safety.
Yes.
Agreed.
Agreed that it's not part of your motion.
You want to add it?
We will add a safety condition.
Okay. So to restate the motion before you get a second, it's to table for a time and date certain to the 19th of November, and for staff to prepare additional conditions for approval, tightening and using metrics for those items where and when available, and to add a condition regarding a safety plan, and to review those against specifically findings of fact 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
In consultation with the applicant.
Yes.
Okay.
And just for clarification, you are addressing the concern with the parking issue in regards to, I'd like to see the no parking on the roadways. They should take it all on their property.
That was not part of the motion. It was to review parking. It was not to restrict it. So if you want to make an amendment to the motion, you can do so. But at this point, what I heard Commissioner Hull say is to review the parking conditions, not to further restrict them.
I'm fine with that.
And I think if the board wanted to do that, it would be to restrict to on-site parking only. And that would be based upon the configuration of the township road, the size, that it can't reasonably accommodate on-street parking of that size. So then if the board felt that way, you would say limit to on-site parking only. But that was not currently part of the motion.
There's insufficient.
I want to be clear, so I just want to clarify. Parking, the motion is directing staff to review parking. It's not limiting it, it's not directing how that solution happens. It's directing them to review it.
Right, but if staff's review says there is adequacy for on-street parking, it may still come back to the board.
Agreed.
Okay, just clarifying the motion.
And for clarification, part of that would be the review of how they're going to safely monitor that parking, whether it's on the road or on their site. That'd be part of that safety review.
I think as part of requiring the safety plan, that we could develop that as a condition that whoever's doing the safety for the event also address the safety of the parking on the township road.
All right.
Okay, so there's a motion.
And we've motioned that we've got clarified. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Danilowski seconds. Is there any further discussion?
It is non-debatable, non-discussable,
Sorry.
since it's a motion to table.
That's right. Thank you very much. I got lost in that deal. All right, so then we've done it. And that is tabled until the 19th?
We have to
No, it
vote.
needs to be approved.
We have to vote.
We have to vote.
You have to vote to table.
Great, okay. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none? Motion carries. Now we can move on. That was very lengthy. And now we are going to simply receive and accept the Auditor Treasurer's monthly report.
Good morning, Commissioners. In your packet is enclosed the September trial balance that's been prepared by my accounting manager, Sherburne Kasmer. That is showing that the general fund balance is behind last year's balance by $4,791,937.31. That is due mostly to ARPA funds and those rolling through. The general fund balance does include $2,841,747.62 of ARPA funds that have been allocated but not yet paid out. And it does include the Recorder's Compliance Fund of $505,109 even. That is the Recorder's Compliance. It also includes your budget to actual report. I was gonna say, do you have the clicker, Keisha? I don't see it up here. Oh, here it is. Sorry. There you go. That's the one we're looking at. Okay. You'll notice that Fund 81, taxes and penalties, is behind last year by over $2.5 million. This is mainly a timing issue with payments received from the large escrow companies. They are also having employee issues, keeping staff, so retraining. As of this morning, we finally received CoreLogic's file that's over $34 million, over 17,000 parcels. As of yesterday, they were not able to do anything with it, of course, because we hadn't received it. We did notify them that if we did not get the funds wired, that they would have penalty if we didn't get it until tomorrow. So they were working very hard to get that to us this morning, because that does affect a huge part of our funds coming in, and today is tax day, so it is due today. So they were notified of that. The wire I was able to see that it was out there this morning, so we are working on getting that file processed so we can actually get those parcels posted to the parcels so the individuals can see that their taxes have been paid. But as of yesterday, we had none of that, so we had been contacting them. So just so you know, if you've looked and it's not showing your taxes are paid, that's more than likely why, and we are We can't post it till we get the money, so it's looking like it's showing up today. So still on time. It'll get posted today if we can get a good file from them. So know that that's out there.
Lorraine, is this something that happens?
This has not happened before.
This is the first.
This is the first year that Wells Fargo has gone with CoreLogic. Number one, Wells Fargo usually did their own escrow, and they usually sent it generally 25 to 30 days early, which is why we're showing less at the end of September, because we usually have that Wells Fargo file by the end of September. Wells Fargo is now part of this CoreLogic file that we're receiving today.
Okay.
So, and usually CoreLogic would pay around the 10th of the month. So between the holiday and the long weekend and the timing of the tax, and again, they are also having staffing issues where they're training new staff. It just delayed things a little bit. We just had to let them know that timing is of the essence, and if we get it tomorrow, they would be liable for the penalty on all those properties.
So somebody
That's
better push
statutorily.
send.
I believe it got bumped up in their priority list a little bit. So I hope we weren't the only county that was having an issue, that they worked through those. We are also working on the proposed tax notices and the meetings for the Truth in Taxation. They are going to be processed and mailed by Prima Data. Bonnie Jacobs, our property tax manager, has been working on getting that all ready for you. We plan to get the notices to go out in the mail by mid-November. And I believe our meeting for the county is December 5th for Truth in Taxation. I'm not positive of that.
That's correct.
So on the elections note, we've been very busy on our end of the building. Sherburne County currently has over 65,000 registered voters. As of today, we have over 6,800 that have voted absentee ballot or requested absentee ballots. Of those, almost 2,000 have been in person, so since September 20th, in person at our counter. Of those that went out by mail, we have over 1,500 accepted, and that's about 31% of those that have been mailed out. So there's still a lot of options, still a lot of time for people to vote. Direct balloting, when you're actually going to take that ballot and put it in a machine, starts this Friday. Today is the last day to register and be on that roster at your polling place on Election Day. So we will be open till 5 p.m. to accept those. The registrations have to be in our office by 5 p.m. to be recorded on that roster. Anyone who does register after that time will be mailed a notice of late registration that they can bring to their polling place that will basically give them that pass to get registered there. So they'll be notified that it wasn't timely received. So.
And Lorraine,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair, Lorraine, for direct balloting, they can do that here
It is done here and the city of Elk River only.
at the City Hall.
Yep, city of Elk River is only city of Elk River residents. Sherburne County has all ballot styles for the entire county.
Okay.
So, so when I say we've got 4,800 ballots out there, those are all absentee ballots that go in a ballot sleeve, in an envelope. Those will all have to be opened by election judges before election night. No ballots are tabulated or counted until after 8 p.m. on election night. So we have no results at all. None of those totals are ever looked at until election night, till we hit that button to tally. They will be fed through a central count machine, the absentee ballots that come back, but they will not be counted until after 8 p.m.
And Lorraine, any absentee ballots that have to come back through the mail, is there like a suggested get it in the mail by this date to?
There is. We strongly recommend at least 5 days before the election. there can be agent delivery, where someone can bring it to you. You cannot bring those ballots to your polls. They have to be brought to our office, but we also have to now accept them until 8 p.m. on Election Day. It used to be a 3 o'clock cutoff, and then we could push the information out to the polls to see if they had voted in person. Now it's 8 p.m. is that cutoff, so. So we will be ballot boarding after 8 p.m. on election night. So, and that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Indeed.
So you
So
have to.
we would need a motion to accept.
I'll move approval.
Approval, thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Philby moves, Commissioner Halt seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we get to move on to the more exciting area. Consider approval to proceed with conceptual design and engineering for proposed permanent household hazardous waste facility. Well, I'm very into solid waste these days.
One of your favorite topics, Greg.
We don't get cold excited.
That lightens your presentation immensely.
A board that's excited about solid waste. Yeah, sure.
Good
Just
morning,
wanted to
Mr.
let you know at
Chair.
our district meeting, solid waste ranked right up there on our priorities too. so.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Well, we'll be having another SWAC meeting soon enough for some other stuff, so we'll be seeing everybody around.
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners of the Board. Today, on behalf of Solid Waste, the Planning Zoning Department is looking for a motion to approve moving forward with seeking conceptual design and engineering for the proposed HHW facility. Jillian will walk us through a little bit of the stuff that's already gone down and happened, and I will walk us through some scope and recommendations.
So, as you know, we had a HHW feasibility study that was performed and determined that there is a need for a permanent facility in Sherburne County. County staff from admin and zoning have toured numerous facilities to develop an idea of where and what a facility in Sherburne County could look like. And as a result, we have narrowed it down in terms of location and scope. The preferred permanent location, or the proposed permanent location for a facility would be South Zimmerman, which is on the map in the handout that you've got in front of you, which this location would service the largest populace, with the secondary location being Elk River. It should be noted that no specific parcels are identified at this time. There's still discussion on scope and facility of the facility in terms of possibility of co-locating. Some possible co-location partnerships that have been discussed already include TriCap for additional vehicle parking, the Zimmerman Public School District for equipment storage, SWCD for office spaces, Public Works for storage or office spaces. These are just a few that have been discussed already. Also, we recognize the need to allow additional space for future growth at this location when we're considering design and engineer plans. I'm going to pass it over to Jerome to further discuss the scope and the recommendation.
So the primary function of this facility would just be collection. We do not intend to process at this facility aside from possibly doing a paint mixing room if that is something we decide to do. Now that collection would just be taking in items from residents. They would be sorted and possibly, you know, sent off to certain different transfer stations or recycling facilities. So there would be no processing on site again. Except for that paint. In addition to that, we may include a reuse room. This is a very popular thing amongst HHW facilities in the area. So that would be our current scope. It's open to being changed, obviously, through this conceptual design and engineering period. Now with that, our recommendations would be, Mr. Chair, we would ask that the county board or some of the county board accompany us to tour the Washington County facility. We feel that is the one that closest models what we would like to see here in our county. So if that is a possibility, we would like to do that. And as well, we are seeking the board approval to hire a company for design and engineering for the proposed HHW facility with the specific property size and needs that we come up with would be driving a subsequent site selection effort there, hopefully in South Zimmerman. If not there, then in Elk River.
Standing, thank you very much.
A couple of quick add-ons on that. First of all, if the board, you'd expressed interest in seeing some, what we found are places we didn't think you'd want to tour, but we did find a couple that would be good. I know one commissioner has said if we go to Washington County to look at their HHW facility, maybe also to schedule a tour of the large Ramsey, Washington County facility, which is industrial size scale. But again, both of those counties have mandated collections, so they can direct all the waste to go to that, but it's an amazing operation. So as long as we're there, I would suggest and recommend the board also tour that. And the reason we're proceeding the way we are is because Washington County and Ramsey County have both indicated that if our board comes, they would probably invite a commissioner or two from each county to join you. They would just be excited to share their experiences, so.
I'm pretty excited about seeing both of them.
So am I.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'd like to understand the selection criteria for the site.
Yes, absolutely. So primarily based off the heat map that GIS specialists over in Parks Department gave us, they had the highest, I believe it was 48%. Elk River was 45%, 42%. So primarily based off the heat map. And then again, there was some other things. I don't want to speak for admin, but I know there was some concerns with the parcel being ID'd in Elk River that would be optimal. There is some other ideas for what could happen with that site. So again, I'd probably let Bruce or Dan speak to that, but those were just a couple of the primary reasons.
Yeah, and on the 48 versus 45%, 45% of what?
48% of the population of Sherburne County can drive to the South Zimmerman location within 15 minutes of their homes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the struggle that I'm having is I can see where that may work out. On first blush, my concern is that it puts Elk River is 25% of the county's population. So with 25% of the county's population, I would think that it would put us in the best position to be successful with it, but I can be persuaded with the Zimmerman site. I want to make sure that we're putting it in the position where it's going to get the most use with the most population. That's my concern.
Mr. Chair, and I hear what Commissioner Hulls is saying, but we are looking to locate something that is going to draw from the other parts of the county in a manner that will be, like what Jerome referred to, a reasonable time to get there. So I think that's war in the 48% that shows Zimmerman would, and more people will do it. 48% is just the population size. If you look to see what you're going to draw from around that area, it's definitely going to be greater, in my opinion at least, because I live in Big Lake, and I think driving to Zimmerman would work just as well for me, people that live up beyond Zimmerman. It's all about getting people to participate.
If I may, I just don't want to get bogged down in the exact location because that is to be determined. What I want to focus on here is getting the plans for the facility up and going, because this is a significant step towards diverting a lot of toxic waste from our landfills, so people aren't just burying their paint cans in the trash can and sending them off. And that's getting things out of our landfills, I think, is one of the more important things that we do.
With that being said, Mr. Chair, just a question. So if we approve to move forward with a preliminary engineering design, that is not necessarily
Site dependent?
Site dependent?
Correct, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Commissioner Halls. It would be, it would drive a subsequent site selection effort. So we wouldn't be making that site selection right off the bat. We would be developing what we need for this facility from a square footage standpoint, from our footprint, and then we can go forward from there to select our site.
Okay.
And then we would also fine tune that list of possible co-located partners, whether it be TRICAP or SWCD or Public Works. And that may again drive some of the site selection, because if we have to look for, let's say, 40 acres versus 10, it's hard to find 40 acres in Elk River that's not developed, other than a certain location you and I know of, so.
So a couple things. I favor the Zimmerman site, of course. I know it'll shock you. But I love when we can bring the county out of Elk River a bit. But I also hear your comments, Andrew. We want this to be utilized the best and the most that it can. And right now, we're having to drive everything to Waite Park. Now, back to the chair's request. Can you talk about where the money is going to come from to pay for this study?
Absolutely.
Pay for the proposal.
Yep. Yep. The funds for this would be coming directly out of Fund 21. The Fund 21 are the monies we are receiving from the landfill, I believe, and we are able to use those at our discretion for reasons that would help with landfill abatement. So everything would be coming from Fund 21, first from the actual engineering and design, as well as, I believe, the construction of the facility.
And then if there's co-location, we'd have that similar question with our partners. Your engineers looked at possible ways to fund, a new public works facility, so that would not come out of Fund 21, so.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to move forward with conceptual design and engineering for the proposed permanent household hazardous waste facility.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Commissioner Phobie motions, Commissioner Van Lusky seconds. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to know when we are going to discuss final site selection.
Well, we'll solicit for design engineer, and then we'll make it part of the early conversation to have a workshop with the design engineer and make it more iterative. So I don't think there's a final date yet.
Okay, that's fine. I just, with deference to my colleague from Zimmerman, I beg to differ on the location.
Yeah, well, and I think we'll take
It
from the
could
direct.
fit in Big Lake too, guys.
We did, we threw out Beck, I remember, so.
Mr. Chair, if needed, we could also do a workshop afterwards, once this has come through, and we could all sit down and go through that.
Yeah, we
And
probably.
we have to remember the Zimmerman location, again, whether it's Elk River or Zimmerman, is nowhere near my district in northwest where that, so if for me to drive to Zimmerman or drive to Stearns County's facility, 10 minutes or half an hour, that's the difference. And just so we're clear on the site selection is the whole county's paying for it, but there's going to be a limited scope of people, 48%, that are going to be narrowly going to Zimmerman. The rest are going to be going towards St. Cloud or that way.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And I think your conversation is very similar to what we learned from Washington County. Their first facility is very rural Cottage Grove, and it was specifically designed to serve the southern part of that county. Then they developed a second one on the north side, correct?
Yep.
And then they have conceptual plans for a third one in the middle of the county. So that's, that model may be something you're looking at. It's like, okay, this is going to be the eastern one. It's going to get used by others, but predominantly, and as we grow and develop, we may want to have one more central, and then we'll see what happens in the St. Cloud area, whether it's sufficient or we have to address it.
Mr. Chair,
And
to address Commissioner Gray's, concerns there, he's totally right, and we do plan on conducting those collection events still out there.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yep.
And if we put it in Big Lake, Greg, it's closer to you too.
Yeah, Commissioner Felber's smiling at the number 2 and number 3 aspect of a facility, so let's just get by 1 first, and then we'll worry about 2 and 3.
He really does love solid waste.
Mr. Chair, if you want to hear a lot of chatter at statewide county gatherings, it's solid waste right now and ditches. Ditches yesterday was huge, but this doesn't negate all of the other activities that your office is doing so much in the county in so many ways. So we will still do collection activities. We'll just, do all of that. So I think a workshop would be great.
Yep. And Mr. Chair, I think too, it's pretty telling, some of the pop-up events that we've started to expand upon. Just that mattress collection, I thought was huge. What was the numbers? 540
694?
mattresses? I mean, that's huge.
Wow. Yeah.
And so people are just telling us, and then I think you did a household
Big Lake
hazardous
Township,
waste.
yep, first one at Big Lake Township.
That was another
very
400 and some
successful.
participants.
It was 135 vehicles,
little
which
off
for
of 100.
reference, a 2-day Elk River event is 250.
Yeah.
So it was a good number.
So I think
of
the
vehicles.
public is telling us, we want these things, give us the opportunity. We'll be good about how we get rid of our waste product and keep them out of the landfills.
Agreed.
Totally beats the ditches in Orrock.
Yeah. Yes.
Or the big landfill in Elk River.
Townships are grateful.
Yeah. We just always got them in the ditches out there. Alrighty, so if there's any further discussion? Alrighty then, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, none. Motion carries. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair,
What,
Commissioners.
We can
oh,
get a-
I'm sorry, one extra point. So what will we name this? The Dave Lucas Household Hazardous Waste?
No, that's
Right?
to be determined.
But, as they leave, I do want to say it.
Thanks for your input, Dave.
Yeah. It's the only time Dave's been at the microphone and not said anything.
I
so
know.
It's huge. Oh, wait, he's going up. So,
Good job, team. Good
But,
job.
but really, kudos to the team. They did absolute great job.
Yep, thank you.
And,
Thank you.
they got Dave and I, or Dan and I out on some interesting tours. So you'll probably thank us for doing some of the
Looking
tours.
forward to those tours.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Oh, I was up at, Greg and I were up at Pota.
I know, but some of them we toured, you don't want to go
Put a
to.
little Vicks in your nose.
Probably would want to see them. That's what's getting weird.
All right.
So, alrighty, so back to, we are at Commissioner Correspondence, Committee Reports, Upcoming Meetings, Future Agenda Items. We are a bit behind, so high-speed talking would.
Mr. Chair, we have another item.
Huh?
We have 5.11.
Oh, 5.11, thank you very much.
Well, actually, yeah, you can, you want to do 11 now? Yeah, Brian's here, so that would be great. Thank you.
We're gonna roll this over kind of into. Good morning.
Thank you, Board and Chair. Brian Cameron, IT Director, Sherburne County. So I'm here to discuss the AI policy that administration, attorney, and IT have pulled together for proposal for the board. We put this policy together because within the organization and within government, we're seeing an increasing request and interest in the use of generative artificial intelligence in doing our line of business. A couple of the uses that came in and helped us, in this policy, we had a request to utilize this for summarizing mental health cases. This policy would not allow that sort of thing because the information that would be needed to do that is confidential and private. And with generative AI, sharing data with that sort of service makes the data available to the service and to those with the service. So we wanted to focus on that information, which is public only in its use, so that's where it came from. Today, we are increasingly using AI on our website. We have a bot in the small right-hand corner that people can ask questions to. Our provider there, Civic Plus, is continuing to increase the depth of that artificial intelligence and bring that to a more full service that we're happening. We're seeing departments ask for note takers and note summaries of meetings that we have internally that we may like to have a summary for those people that didn't attend that we can keep out there and read. But I think one of the best things that I had seen come through actually our Veterans Department. In 2022, the federal government passed the PACT Act. What the PACT Act did in part was provide broader coverage for those veterans that have been exposed to chemicals in the field of operations. And unfortunately, all of the chemicals that veterans and people are exposed to are not always directly relatable to a health condition. So our Veterans Department was looking to use the AI tool to scour health databases and find related conditions. This wouldn't put any of our veterans' information in jeopardy whatsoever. It would be looking for something like, someone has lung cancer and believe they were exposed to waste fumes in Iraq. Has there been any research on that sort of thing, and how does that relate? So that's kind of how that policy had generated and the types of ideas within the organizations for use of generative AI that departments are requesting. So the, questions and items.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I pulled this item for a specific reason. So I agree that AI is a tool that's going to have more and more use in the future. And I like how the policy is written, has to go through department heads to get approval for use. However, I think it is incumbent upon the board to get input with how AI is being used in the county. So what I'd like to see and what I'm proposing is that we have a semi-annual report on what on who's using AI, what platform they're using, what it's being used for, and whether that was successful or not. And this is not meant to be a, it's not meant to be a report that's spun or, rainbow and glitter. If something goes poorly with using AI in a particular instance, we want to know it because we need to propagate that through the county. If a particular platform, we need to know which platform is being used, is better than others or one is worse than others, we also need to know that. I also want to have the county attorney hear the report so that if there's some issue that provides some potential liability or some red flag, I think it's valuable for the county attorney to hear what it's being used for. The issue with AI isn't that it's not up and coming and it's not something that we're going to see more and more of. The issue is it's a little bit of the Wild West. And it is a standard engineering practice, garbage in, garbage out, and AI is the definition of that. Some of them are very good, some of them are really bad. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as a board to have a semi-annual report out with that level of detail.
So another comment that I have, appreciate your comments, Commissioner Halls. I also think it would be helpful for the board to have a workshop on AI ourselves. I think that some people, you mention AI and they just have never experienced, they don't think they've ever experienced anything with it or have never tried it, never dipped their toe in it, and yet really they're using it every day in many different ways. There's a great teacher out, I believe, at Ridgewater College who has spoken on the state level, definitely, and if not the national level, that is a great trainer and speaker on it and very well versed in it. But I think it would be good for the board to have a workshop on what is AI. I mean, some of us at the dais, we're not exactly sure. We haven't dipped our toe at all. And I've been at a number of conferences, state and national, or done webinars on where our workforce challenges that we all talk about and that are all clear with the baby boomer, me being the end of that generation, we need to find out how we can do our work differently and in different ways because we're just not going to have the bodies to do it. And I think this is one of the opportunities that will assist in that way. So help us to get a comfort level with what is AI and how does it help us?
And Mr. Chair and Commissioner Phobie, didn't you say that AI has actually been around for about 20 years?
I don't know that I said that.
Yeah, that was actually a comment made at the AMC. Yeah.
Someone maybe.
Yeah, AMC's, it's not new. We think it's new, it's really not. But yeah, we'll probably look for somebody more from outside to do that workshop because, Brian's got enough to do. He's not the AI global expert, but yeah, we appreciate the comments, and I think the idea is we need a policy which is very conservative, but I think the feedback and coming back makes sense, so we'll do that.
So here's the individual. If you get a chance, Google Mike Kutzke, Kutzke. He is very, very knowledgeable in AI, and we're trying to get him to an AMC conference coming up. I've heard him speak a couple times on it. Mike Kutzke, Kutzke.
And I just want to reemphasize that this report that I'm looking for, or modification to the policy, would be non-punitive in any way, shape, or form. It is designed specifically to let us know what's working, what's not working, make sure that we pass along best practices, and make sure we pass along where we find that there are issues within the county. The idea is, and I want to make this very, it's not a cheerleading report. It is a report. It's a matter of fact report. This is what it's being used for. This is what's going well. This is where we found out this didn't work so well, and this is why. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner House, if I would, frequency for the report, say over the next year, do you want to see it like once a quarter?
Semi-annual.
6 months? When would you like that report?
Semi-annual, twice a year.
Twice a year? Thank you.
Does he want to make a motion to put that into the manual?
I think he made that, that was your motion.
We haven't made a motion yet.
I know that motion hasn't been made yet, but I can make that motion if we're done with discussion.
We can discuss more after.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to add a semi-annual report to the policy to the board.
I think Dan has something. Sorry.
Oops.
I was just going to say that the initial discussion was to put some rail guards on AI for now. Would you like to make the change to the policy today, or should staff bring it back to the next meeting? So just looking for direction on that, but it might be part of the motion.
I don't think you're making a change on the policy.
I do want to make a change to the policy.
Oh.
What's that?
So I will amend my motion to ask staff to amend the policy to include a semi-annual report to the board with the details as specified in the discussion, and then bring that back to the board at the next board meeting.
Essentially tabling it to the next meeting.
No, you don't need to table it, just, we got the motion.
Just a motion, okay.
Yep.
Making sure I got it right
I'll second.
for the next section. It's been a morning of that, so. Okay, so the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Danilowski seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we are actually 100% on to Commissioner correspondence, committee reports, upcoming meetings, future agenda items, and we are somewhat behind, so brevity would be encouraged.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can go first.
Talking would be
Briefly. Briefly, I'll go first. October 2nd, had a county connect meeting. That's our opportunity to meet with the employees, give updates, hear feedback. That went well. October 3rd, attended the ATP 3 meeting up in Baxter. That's the Area Transportation Policy Board for District 3. And at that meeting, I was reelected to be board chair for another year. And October 4th, CentraCare Infrastructure Cohort meeting. This has to do around housing needs. CentraCare had brought together a bunch of people a while back, broke them down into cohorts. I happened to be on the infrastructure cohort, and so we had another Zoom meeting in regards to that, and that is coming along. It's a lot of exciting conversation and hopefully getting something wrapped up in addressing housing. October 7th, the AMC Property Taxes 101 Zoom event that I attended, and that was great information. It's always good to hear it again. A lot of the stuff I was familiar with, but it never hurts to have it explained again, and repetition is somewhat of a good thing. It sticks with you more. And also had the second County Connect meeting that I was involved with. October 8th, Sherburne County AIS Task Force meeting met. A lot of great discussion, a lot of good partners at the table in regards to staying on top of our county AIS needs in. There was some discussion in regards to Lake Fremont with the carp. Also, this is aquatic invasive species, and so we're trying to stay on top of those. How do you best inform the public to be a part of that process so we can limit the amount of spread? And I had just heard that there was, somewhere in the state, there was a lake that just got recognized that it had starry stonewort, and that's a really nasty form of aquatic invasive species. And then also October 9th, had my NACO workforce and economic development meeting, and also attended the Big Lake Township meeting that evening, and October 10th attended the APO meeting up in St. Cloud. And then quite a handful of constituents' concerns. That's it.
Next. I went October 2nd to St. Cloud Airport. They're jointly with Delta and Sun Country and stuff. The vocational school is creating a airline mechanics thing that's up there. That'll be, I think, enormously huge for the area and stuff. That'll bring in a lot of students to the area. 9th and 10th, the SHAC conference in St. Cloud. Highlight of that was the keynote speaker was a Dr. Brian, I'll crucify his name, Castrujuni, but it was great. And everything he emphasized the fact that everything we do as a county officials affects public health. So and I think about it, what we were behind it, what we talked about today, all of those things can be added into how they affect public health with all the discussion we had today. Also on the 9th, I let Lisa talk about this more, but the MICA meeting, I logged in and was just listening. And on October 10th, I had the Soil and Water Conservation District meeting, logged into that. That was me.
Well, I can go real quick. So just a couple of things. Key highlights, I did last week, County Connect meeting for the jail staff. That went quite well. We had 2 groups that came through, one of which of new trainees. So it was a great experience and a great group of people. Secondly, obviously, we talked about, we had the 3 of us attended the District 5 meeting yesterday. I was pleased to see coming out of District 5 the priorities. I think align very well with what we've discussed around tax reform, unfunded mandate reform, solid waste, modernization of our HHS systems, and I forget what the other 2 were. What's that?
Health.
Yeah, mental health.
Mental health.
And so I think those
Road and bridge bonding.
and bonding, yep. So I think those priorities align extremely well. We'll see how the other districts vote, but I'm hopeful that they will have a similar outcome. And then the third thing I wanted to comment on is I wanted to just extend a thank you to Administrator Messelt for responding to some constituent correspondence this week, and I think it's important to point out, because of the work that he did on that, there was some bad information given today, and we normally don't engage, but I'm not going to let it sit. So the vault toilet issue that was brought up earlier, the estimate that was presented by the constituent was that they cost roughly $30,000 each. Well, the county paid $33,000 each. And so this repeated drumbeat of someone needs to be disciplined or something is entirely inappropriate, because people did exactly what they're supposed to do, and they did their jobs extremely well. So I just think we need to put that to bed.
Thank you very much for that. Ready?
Arm wrestle? Sure, I can go. Thanks for that comment, Andrew. Yes, the misinformation, disinformation that we hear at times is frustrating and discouraging. So thank you for clarifying that. These last couple weeks, I attended the MICA meeting via Zoom, and Commissioner Paul Schnell was there, so we got an update from that department. Talked through a bit about the early release situation and the impact on counties, and we made it clear to the commissioner that if there is an early release situation and it impacts our corrections caseloads greatly, that is a shift in cost to counties. So we tried to really be clear about that. We have a couple of our commissioners in the state that serve on committees that have direct access to him, so we keep beating that drum that it's easy for the state to make these great decisions, but shifts in costs, they're going to hear about it. So we'll keep a finger on the pulse with that. The other thing that a study is going to be coming out probably in the next month, and this was talked about a bit yesterday, everyone's building jails. We're in the era of it happens like there's a wave to this, and Stearns is looking at it. Anoka is, Benton, some of them want to close their jail. So the study that's coming out is a study on the whole regionalization of jails concept, and so stay tuned for that. It was good to have him in the room, so to speak. At Fairview, I went up to Fairview. They just opened a new outpatient behavioral health services for adolescents, a dual diagnosis, so mental health, teens that are struggling with mental health, and also ChemDep. So take a peek at that when you get a chance. Great service to our community. Central Minnesota Habitat Breakfast I attended. Like I said, the executive director is in Zimmerman. He's really looking at partnering with schools, apprenticeship programs where we can get young people knowing the trades a bit, but also successfully building a home. The Zimmerman Communication Group met about the transportation projects in Zimmerman. We are going to pause that group for a few months, probably until we're out for bids for a project or two up there. We're going to pause until probably around the first of the year and then bring that group back up again. I went to the Baldwin Township meeting. Brian was there introducing himself. I like to go when our staff is there introducing, so we were at Baldwin Township. It's interesting going from Livonia and Baldwin, and Brian can attest to this, how different they had the group of voter integrity group that's questioning voter safety and freedoms and safe voting. And as we all know, that is of primary importance to us, and we take that very seriously. So that group was at that meeting also in Baldwin that night. What else did I do? AMC Policy Coordinating Committee. So the Policy Coordinating Committee is where all of the priorities kind of get funneled through from the committees to what you saw yesterday. So that's part of the process that as executive, I sit on that group. Met with Nonprofits United up in the Zimmerman-Princeton area. They gather monthly. It's good for us to be at that table just to hear what all the nonprofits are doing. As we saw earlier, partnerships with those are critical in supporting our work. Toured Glen Metalcraft for the Lunch and Learn, celebrating Manufacturing Month. Was at one of the County Connect meetings. And then Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. Our operations group met. Our community and government relations group met. And it's out of that community and government relations that Mike Kutsky, who I mentioned earlier, he did an AI presentation a number of months ago. He's doing round 2, if you want to mark your calendar, November 1st. It'll be virtual from 9 to 11. We had almost 200 people on it last time. We expect we'll have more. So November 1st, part 2 with Mike Kutsky for AI. And then also the Workforce Development Board met. And then yesterday was our AMC District 5 meeting. So thanks everyone for the participation there. It's important as we build our legislative platform that we do that as a 87 county voice. So
Commissioner Phobie, is there a link to that Zoom
Not yet.
Not yet?
But there will
Can
be.
you share it when you get
I
it?
will,
Awesome,
definitely.
thank you.
That'd be great. That it?
That's it.
Well, then I will go. First, I'm going to mention that Kevin Grossheim, the park ranger who died earlier in the month, attempting to rescue other people up north, he was laid to rest over the weekend, so try to keep his family in your thoughts and prayers, and there still are some donation spots out for that. In my monthly mention of different types of awareness things for the month, it is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month, which is really important, and World Blindness Awareness Month. So keep those in mind. I did go to the AMC District 5 pre-meeting, but then I was out of state for the actual meeting, so don't really need to cover any of that. I sat on this Council for Foreign Relations Brookings Institute election virtual public event on technology and electoral dynamics. That was interesting. I still feel that we are ahead of the game here in how we handle our elections. We're doing a great job, and we don't have the problems that other states do. Went to the East Central Regional Juvenile Center Advisory Committee. Cost of keeping juveniles is going to go up from $375 up to $375 for a member and $455 for a non-member. And they approved a project to work on their elevator so that it keeps functioning. I did a couple of the County Connect meetings, and one thing I would like to reiterate again for anybody who's listening to this, who works here, you can contact members of this board and not expect to be dimed out to your administrative staff. So never worry about that. I mean, absolutely feel like you can contact us if you have an issue. Doesn't mean we can solve it, doesn't mean we can do anything about it, but definitely never feel afraid to contact us. I attended the RAC meeting. I talked about USDA, update from the USDA office and a federal update. I went to a coal communities webinar, or attended that. One of the things that they discussed there, housing funding, that's a big deal, workforce. Kentucky's trying to get their broadband together, and there was also an aviation training program that they're putting in Kentucky that is similar to the one that's being put up in St. Cloud, which is a great deal. So these are all important things, and I think that that's really, the other thing I was going to mention is that for whatever reason, it seems to be that my district is the one that people call about not wanting their property taken during road reconstruction. I had more complaints on it again this time. I seem to be the only one who's getting them, but I'm going to keep mentioning it, even though I sound like a broken record, and then that will be it.
Mr. Chair, real quick, dimed out, is that a law enforcement phrase?
Yeah, dimed out is when you get reported to somebody. It comes
All
from
right,
the old,
thank you.
the old
Just
idea
clarifying.
of, dropping a dime, putting a dime in the payphone and reporting someone, so. Okay, it's probably good that you asked me to clarify that.
It's a quarter now.
Yeah.
Was a quarter.
I don't even think there's a payphone out there, so.
Just kind of assume that, yeah.
More the concept, actually, than the actual motion itself. So at this point, we are done with that. We are gonna take at least a 10-minute break, probably instead of the 15 that we have scheduled, so that everybody can take a short break, and then we will reconvene and open our ditch authority meeting. So at this point, we'll be breaking till, what does that make it, 11:49.
There's a video
We do.
It's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be an all-night.
I mean, yeah, so you've got.
Okay, are we all ready to go?
Well,
then we will.
Oh, we have a technology.
Technical issue.
Okay, we'll wait for that.
Are we not up and running?
Not quite.
Adam, can you come check out our mouse issues?
All right, outstanding. So then we will reconvene with opening our ditch authority meeting. The first item on the agenda would be to review and approve the ditch authority agenda. We would entertain a motion, I would entertain a motion for that at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hulse,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danilowski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. And now we will receive the ditch drainage technician report.
It's still morning. Good morning, everybody. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns about my written portion of the report? Okay. Okay, we'll move along. The map up there is that area that I've been talking about for the last several meetings where we're gonna put a drop inlet that was holding water between two driveways. It's ditch 32. Just east of 169, this portion in County Road 25 in Zimmerman, or south of town. This is the area of concern. The landowner did not want this water sitting there all the time, and I can't blame him because all it would do was breed mosquitoes, stagnant water. So I agreed that we could put a drop inlet in there, but he was just gonna have to wait till after the summer because the contractor that installed the tile line had other obligations. And this was not an emergency situation where action had to be taken immediately. We started by digging up where the tile was installed. That bar right there is called a probe. You use that to find utilities and pipe, so you don't dig down and damage the pipe, and then you got a lot bigger issues. A lot more work, a lot more time. So the tile was found. As you can see, he's using a Sawzall to cut a hole in the pipe. Rather than installing a T at this point, it's a lot more easier to just drill a hole in the top of the pipe. What she's holding in her hand is the Hickenbottom riser.
What's that called?
What's that?
What is that
It's
called?
a Hickenbottom riser. It's just a manufacturer that makes those.
Okay,
You
thank you.
see them a lot in agricultural fields. They're used quite often. So he traced around where the riser is going to go in very carefully. That's when we have that installed. That is the bottom two sections.
Wow.
So on where it connected into the tile line, we wrapped the connection with filter fabric just to keep silt and sand and material out of there from dropping in, because it's not a perfectly sealed. Backfilled around it. Kept it level so it didn't move. Put material around it. The material also supports and holds it in place. This is after backfilling operations were completed, doing fine grading. Mike's daughter Megan is raking out any high spots, any ruts. As you can see around that top section of that riser, we put 1.5 inch sewer rock. It kind of filters anything that comes in there, and it also allows it to get into the holes of the Hickenbottom riser, and so they don't get plugged with dirt. Seeded the area. This is on the other side of the driveway. We got a really good catch with the grass. The early rains we had this year helped quite a bit. So it looks it's looking pretty good out there. That's all I have for my PowerPoint. I do have a couple short videos. Oh, I don't know why it's not showing. I had them, you should have an orange cone video player in the folder. I don't know. That should, I think the video player should work. Video or media player. Huh.
This is like devastating, you know, we've been waiting.
I know. Everybody's wanting to see them.
We wait for these.
Oh, we could have Adam load it while we start the workshop so you could see it, so.
Okay.
Let's see if Adam will be willing to work on the computer while you talk, Brian. Not that you're not exciting, but.
Are you in the county board folder on the iDrive?
So it's working. I got it to work on my computer. That is the file that was from the iDrive. When I right-clicked on it, I was able to get the cone.
Like your computer, Keisha.
Yeah, let's just try.
This is important stuff. We live for this.
Hey Keisha, what folder are they in the iDrive? I can probably play them from back here.
Meeting date _, boardroom, or board meeting.
Yeah, boardroom and today's date.
So it'll say 101524 board MTNG.
Lisa,
It's opening and working with
tell us what happened.
There you go.
We got it.
There we are.
Ditches. Oh, never mind.
Yep.
Might not have audio on this just because I don't think I'm connected.
Nice. What was that?
that beaver dam?
That was a beaver dam.
That was a beaver dam.
Was.
Was.
That's
Beaver dam no more?
That was Greg's first attempt at growing marijuana.
You can play it again, it's not very long.
Here's another one.
This is all the water rushing out of there after we blew the dam.
Wow.
The landowner emailed me the following day and she said it's down to about where it normally is, so that's good.
Did what you wanted it to do.
You can start wearing furs, we have lots of those. Renewable resource.
Yep.
How much explosives, Mike?
That was 9 charges.
Mike loves his job.
That's the first one I've done this year.
Yeah.
Lately, they've been just plugging culverts.
Okay. Right, we got a little self-love.
We just keep doing that.
And in a situation like that, blowing the dam it's way more efficient because there were so many trees. To get a backhoe in there, you'd have to clear a bunch of trees, and people get a little sensitive to that, as we know, so. It's actually cheaper too.
And just so everybody knows, the beaver was removed ahead of time.
Yep, the beaver was removed ahead of time. There was only one. He punched a hole in the dam. It was never repaired, and no other traps went off, so,
Moved on.
yep.
Okay.
Then I think your report did say that you trapped another beaver in another area, but
Yeah.
but it hadn't created a dam issue.
Yep. Yep. Ditch 34 on the Snake River. On 185th, the road that goes to Carefree Country Club. They got them 2 culverts plugged right now too, so. You should probably get to them this weekend, and then next week we'll open them up. That's all I have. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention one thing. So at the district meeting yesterday, it was an interesting conversation because there were a number of counties that talked about how far behind they are on the maintenance on their ditches, that they almost can't even get started because it's going to cost so much money just to get them caught back up. And so I think it's just a testament to you and how the county has operated, that, you know, our ditches operate well when we maintain them. And And so it doesn't get to that issue. I didn't realize that any of the counties were that bad off, but they are. So nice work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and that was mostly the conversation yesterday. I mean, some counties have, like Cass County has one ditch. I mean, and that shocked me. So some counties don't have any ditches or very, very few, so they don't get how important they are to support. And when you have a highly developing county such as ours, Wright County next door, and Wright is a little, I'm not exactly sure, but seems a little more behind in their ditch maintenance than we are. Their commissioner was saying the cost to maintain it now, and they're pouring concrete constantly with developments, so that's affecting every ditch and who benefits from it. So that whole redetermination of benefits we were talking about yesterday, and how, I think Sherburne County, we've tried to stay a bit ahead of the game with it, and you've been proactive with that, so.
And especially in regards to the redetermination, staying on top of that. If you fall behind on that, you really have an issue ahead of you on trying to move the maintenance and upkeep of your ditches. So that's a testament too to how we've stayed on top of those redeterminations as well. And I think the treasurer's office has something to do with that as well. So
I think
thank you.
Ann did a great job with that, and educating our public on what it means to be with that redetermination of benefits. How do they benefit from a ditch? Or how, when they get that statement for $22 or $122, what does that mean? And can you tell that I benefit from that? So, and then we did hear a story, which I haven't verified yet, but that when Commissioner Whitcomb from Mille Lacs County was mayor of Zimmerman, he said that the town nearly flooded because of some changes with roads and culverts, that the decisions the county had made, and the ditches. So, yeah, so that was interesting. And he was a big advocate for keeping your ditches maintained.
Yeah, that is how you manage the water when you live out in the rural areas.
Yeah.
Cities manage it through stormwater processes and manage it through their holding ponds and stuff. But out in the rural areas, it's your ditches that manage that water.
Yeah.
One note I'd like to make, that we did have Beacon updated so that when you turn on the layer for the ditches, it now shows what the ditch number is. Prior to that, it wasn't clear. You knew there was a ditch, but you didn't know which ditch it was. So that, hopefully that's a helpful tool for the public and us as well.
Be great. That's a good thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, are we done?
I'll make a motion to accept the ditch drainage technician's report from Mike Lindenau.
Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danlowski. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. Let's see, now we're going to close our ditch authority meeting and open the workshop. I don't see any real reason to move. We might as well stay here. I just think somebody needs to figure out how to make beef burgers and create a market for them. I mean, there's just no market.